So our next two speakers, I know there's one on the schedule, but we actually have two. Day1 Booth and Angelo Dali are going to talk about artificial intelligence and blockchain technology in the cannabis space. Welcome, guys.
Here we go. Yeah, so my name's Day1 Booth. I'm one of the sorry, there we go. I was about to introduce you. I'm one of the founders of Mel Abyss. Mel Abyss is a relatively new company based here in Malta. We're aiming to do several things, but ultimately we're merging AI, blockchain, and the cannabis sector together in probably the perfect environment and ecosystem, which is Malta. The agenda today is I'll tell you a little bit about Mel Abyss, countries we aim to be working with, a little bit about blockchain. I'm not the actual blockchain expert. He's by our booth right now. And then I'll introduce Angelo, who's the real genius, who's behind the AI application, which is we aim to be the first big data platform for the cannabis sector. As we all know, data is a bit of an issue. It's very scarce, and we have what we believe is a real solution to combat that. So, to be the world's first big data platform in cannabis, we have the Mel Abyss application. You'll be able to go and see the demo over by our booth at the end of the hall. Effectively, it will be medical users. We will also be focusing on recreational, but we understand that for legislation, the important information is from medical users. A medical user will be able to use our application, be able to tell us what they're using, what their ailment is, how they're feeling before and after the usage. And what we will be able to do using Angelo's experience is collate that information and give real statistics, not just anecdotal data, not just research data from a college or a university, real solid statistics. And that's what the application aims to do. What we do then with that data is quite interesting. We just give it to governments. We want to lobby, we want to legislate, we want to help and assist the government do their own reform. Currently, I believe that most countries want to legislate. The GDP goes up, the tax goes up, the crime tends to go down from what we're seeing coming out of the States. It's a no-brainer, but a lot of countries don't currently know how to do that. So we're going to be, hopefully, one of the chief lobbyists within this sector. We aim to use this data efficiently for this. And then what we do, which is our real money generator, is we will be gaining licenses to cultivate. We're already in the process of gaining licenses in several countries globally. And once we're in there, obviously that's our money maker. We're not just generating this data for anything. We're not a charity, we're not an NGO. We will be utilizing this information for us to gain licensing. And we also aim to become a leader in biomass. I think it's an area that a lot of people are neglecting at the moment. There's a lot of things going on now, EU banning single-use plastic. UN seems to be following suit on that. We have access to a potential biomass production of hemp plastic, which biodegrades in 45 days. It's much more efficient, much more environmentally friendly, and that's another revenue driver of what we're going to be using at Mel Abyss. Some of the countries we aim to be working with, Malta, obviously, as one. Why Malta? I live here, firstly, but Malta, for me, I've been very fortunate to work in several sectors within Malta. I came here 6 years ago in the financial services sector, so I was working closely with the MFSA back then. I've also got gaming companies, so I've worked closely with the MGA, and more recently, I've been quite in tune with the VFA and the DLT with the blockchain sector. One thing Malta does very well is legislation. This could, in my opinion, become the EU hub of legislation for the cannabis sector. So Malta would be, for me, my proof of concept. I want to give Malta government this data as a first port of call and hopefully help with their reform and their real agenda into the sector. Some other countries we'll be working with, Bulgaria and Macedonia. We're already partnered up with strategic partnerships in these countries. They're already doing grows. Macedonia on the medical sector with THC. Bulgaria on mass production of CBD. Lithuania, Georgia, Uzbekistan, Uganda. These countries, apart from Georgia, don't have the legislation yet that's required. We're going to work closely with the governments there, again, utilizing the data, to gain licensing and to help their reform and to help their real agenda, which is to eventually legalize full medical usage. The benefits of blockchain and how it works within the cannabis sector: we will develop a seed-to-sale tracking ledger. Everything that goes upon that ledger, from the seed planted through to the consumer end, can be trackable. It can be trackable using a QR code. It can be traceable. It's immutable. It's not open to fraud. It's not open to abuse. And this could be effectively take over the pharmaceutical industry eventually. It's not scalable enough yet, but it is scalable enough for cannabis. Cannabis could be a really good proof of concept here for blockchain legislation to potentially overtake GMP, FDA later down the line. It's not there yet, but it could start generating the interest, I think, to get real investment in. And we all know that there's flaws within the system as it is now. There's human error. Blockchain cleans that up in a much more efficient way. You've also got payments, so you can utilize the blockchain for payments. The US, as an example alone, is plagued with the cash issue, the federal and state law causing problems with actually moving money around. So this definitely can clean that up as well. And even just from a branding perspective, if you've got a cannabis brand, CBD or THC, how do you prove the provenance? Everyone says it's organic or it's this or it's that. How do you prove that? The blockchain can, completely efficiently. So now the world is changing where people are really asking, where is this product coming from? And this would effectively solve that solution. A brand can plug into our blockchain and even just for their own sake, be able to tell their consumers exactly where their product is coming from, which I think is, in today's market, very important. And secure and traceable payments, which I've already brought up. Now, what we will be doing is the application is test ready. I'd like everyone to come visit us at our booth at some stage, and we can actually show you the demo, how it works, how we're going to start collating the information. I'll hand you over to Angelo, who's going to explain a lot more in depth about AI than I ever could. Go ahead.
Exactly. So how will AI fit into the medical cannabis world and the solutions that Mel Abyss are doing? We're building a model that models the whole process, from the plant growth to the end consumer. And for Mel Abyss, what we're doing, we're tracking each data point. How are you feeling? What type of symptom you're experiencing? And the efficacy of that model. So we're building a model that adapts to each and every user and also gives recommendations as to what product you should be using and also how it works and what are the rates, how it actually affects part of the conditions that you are looking for. We'll be building the model to gather data, relevant data that is scientifically based, that can also be used by governments in helping the regulations also go forward. We're not going to be providing medical advice. It is just a guidance until, unless we go through some regulatory process to have the software certified, but that will take a longer time. But it is going to be using the world-class AI models in order to build these. Another aspect that is also the convenience for users. It will make it easy for users to track, easy for users to get good guidance that adapts according to their needs over time. For example, by tracking how the patients are feeling, their mood, and also making sure that their mood stays over time, or detecting anomalies. If all of a sudden a user has been using a particular product and we see that the user has started to feel different from the times when they normally use a particular product, we'll detect those anomalies and be able to either create an alert or automatically try to recommend something else. There are a lot of conveniences that AI brings to consumers. For example, instead of having to type in the name of the product, for example, White Widow or something like that, you'll be able to take a picture of the product and automatically it will read the provenance of it, use the blockchain of Mel Abyss to automatically authenticate the source, authenticate the provenance, and be able to slot that in automatically. And all these convenient uses is what will make it also, will make AI bring a positive impact to the medicinal cannabis industry. I believe that there are a lot of applications of AI once we start gathering more data, gathering more insights that will prove really useful to the Mel Abyss users, both from the blockchain point of of view, from the security point of view, from the safety also of users, and also to make sure that users are using the right thing for their particular symptom.
Yep. We've done a lot of research with medical users, and we kind of pin in a little bit of hope on the fact that they're going to be quite open with this data. We will incentivize. We're partnering up with some major brands, both in Canada, the US, and Europe, to incentivize users to continue using our app. But ultimately, the goal of any medical user, from the people we've spoken to a lot of people, is that everybody wants legislation. Everybody wants to be able to put their products, their medicine in their suitcase and travel the world with it without any issues. Now, that's our goal, ultimately, is to also facilitate that. So that is how we're going to hopefully change the landscape and help with the regulatory framework. And as I said, we're going to potentially use Malta as our proof of concept on this. Yeah, that's it, guys. If there's any questions, let us know.
And if I may add, this is also something that attracts us to do it in Malta because of the regulatory framework. Because obviously we always make sure that the AI models are following a particular regulatory framework, and this is something that attracts us to do this in a way that makes sure that we are doing the right thing and actually impacting the society in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Is there any questions? Nope. Thanks, guys.
Sure, thank you very much.
Okay, so our next panel, we are going